A wife came to pay her respects to her late husband only to witness a scene that left her stunned. She never imagined that, even though her husband had passed away 10 years ago, his little dog was still faithfully waiting at the station entrance. Hachi and his owner had first met at this very station. A puppy appeared before Parker as he was returning home late one evening. Parker picked the dog up and looked around, hoping to find its owner. But even after the last train had departed, no one had come looking for it. Left with no other choice, Parker took the puppy home and settled it into his study, telling it to stay quiet. After Parker went upstairs, the curious little fellow slipped out through the gap in the door. It made its way up the stairs to the bedroom and, seeing the couple close together on the bed, cocked its head in puzzlement. It curiously licked the wife's feet, interrupting their intimate moment. Parker promised to give the puppy away the next day, and his wife reluctantly agreed. Parker took the puppy to the yard shed for the night. The next day, Parker's daughter held the fluffy little creature, unable to put it down, and begged her father to keep it. His wife handed him a stack of adoption notices. Faced with his wife's firm stance, Parker had no choice but to gather the puppy's things and prepare to take it to an animal shelter. Upon arriving at the shelter, however, the staff told him that they were already at full capacity. They could only take the dog in for a week at most. If a new owner wasn't found during that time, the dog would be left to wander the streets. Parker couldn't bear the thought, so he took the dog to the station office instead to ask if the owner had called, only to be told no. Realizing he was about to be late for work, Parker had no choice but to take the dog along with him. After get off work, he brought Hachiko home. His wife initially thought he hadn't found anyone to adopt the dog yet, but upon hearing him say the puppy's name, Hachiko, she instantly realized he wanted to keep him. Early the next morning, she received a call from someone interested in adopting Hachiko. Just as she was about to write down the address, she saw her husband crouching down with a ball in his mouth, coaxing Hachiko to fetch it just as one would a child. She knew full well that Akita dogs do not naturally fetch balls. This display of tenderness deeply moved her. Since their previous dog had passed away, her husband hadn't been this happy, and she changed her mind about the adoption. And so, Hachiko became a member of the family. Time flew by, and Hachiko grew into a strong, sturdy dog. Whenever Parker left for work, Hachiko would lie by the opening, watching his master leave with an unwavering gaze. When the roar of the train sounded, he would instinctively rush out of his kennel, leap onto the cart, and vault over the side. By the time he reached the station, the gates would already be closed, so he would hop onto the flower bed opposite and quietly wait for his master's return. When Parker stepped out of the station after get off work, Hachiko would immediately pounce on him with excitement. This sudden embrace warmed Parker's heart. From then on, a silent pact was quietly formed. Every time Parker went to work, Hachiko would accompany him like a loyal guard. After seeing his master off at the station, Hachiko would quietly turn and leave. In the afternoon, he would faithfully wait by the flower bed, staying there from midday until dusk. The moment he saw Parker, he would eagerly rush into his master's arms. These were Hachiko's happiest moments. From that time forward, whether under the scorching sun or amidst freezing snow, it would always arrive at the flower bed on time to wait. Gradually, the people at the station came to know them. The man and his dog became a familiar, unchanging fixture there. One morning, Hachiko behaved very unusually. He didn't want his master to leave, even barking incessantly at Parker. Although Parker found it strange, he didn't think much of it and headed to the station alone. Just as he was about to enter the station, he heard a familiar whimper behind him. Hachiko had actually chased after him, carrying something in his mouth, a baseball. This Akita, who never fetched balls, had broken his own rule. He was trying to keep his master from leaving. Under Parker's astonished gaze, Hachiko, for the first and only time, initiated a game of fetch. With the train about to depart, Parker had to head inside, but Hachiko barked wildly again, circling in place. Parker soothed Hachiko, promising to give him a special treat when he returned that evening. But he didn't know that this would be his final embrace with Hachiko, and that the promise could never be kept. After finishing his lecture as usual, Parker felt a sudden sharp pain in his heart as he stood up. He collapsed right there, never to rise again. Meanwhile, Hachiko was still waiting, unaware of what death meant. He only remembered the time agreed upon with his master, but this time, the person he longed to see never appeared. Night fell, and the last train slowly pulled away, yet Hachiko refused to leave. Finally, a car stopped by the flower bed. It was the daughter's boyfriend, coming to take her home. The next day, everyone gathered for Parker's funeral. Hachiko was the only one who didn't leave. He remembered the promise he made to his master and arrived at the station entrance right on time. Even after the last passengers had dispersed, he still hadn't seen that familiar figure. Night fell, and heavy snow began to drift down, yet waiting for his master remained his sole unwavering purpose. Later, the wife moved away from this place of sorrow, leaving Hachiko to become a stray dog, Tan Treat. The flower bed became his home, and waiting became his entire life. By day, he kept watch from the flower bed. When hungry, he would beg for scraps at nearby shops. People were never stingy. They always shared some food with him. Only late at night, when the snack vendor packed up his stall, would he quietly rise and leave, curling up to sleep on the abandoned railway tracks. One winter, 10 years later, Parker's wife returned from out of town to pay her respects to her late husband. Passing by the station, she spotted a familiar figure. She recognized it as Hachiko. 10 years had taken their toll. His once lustrous coat had lost its sheen, and his vigorous stride was gone, gazing steadfastly at the station exit. The wife slowly sat down beside Hachiko, embracing him with a heart full of sorrow as she choked back tears. She finally understood, in this world, No one loved Parker more than Hachiko did. She wiped away her tears, choosing not to force him to leave with her. On a snowy Christmas Eve, Hachiko's life was drawing to a close. He summoned his last bit of strength to laboriously climb onto his familiar flower bed. Gazing toward the station entrance, amidst endless waiting and longing, he slowly closed his eyes. Hachiko passed away peacefully in his sleep. He had spent his entire life embodying the meaning of loyalty and love. His long vigil had finally come to a perfect, touching end.